Hello everyone, in today's session we are going to learn how to add a single user in Salesforce, and we will learn this concept for both Salesforce Lightning as well as a Classic. So let's proceed and firstly understand what does we mean by add a single user. However, when your business expand and you recruit more staff, you undoubtedly need to add a user in future, and you can opt to add the user at one time or a several at once depending upon the size of your organization or the new recruitment you proceed, and the maximum number of a user you can add is determined by your Salesforce addition and the number of user license you purchase. In Salesforce there are two ways to add a user. Either you can add a single user at a time or a multiple user at a time. So now let's proceed and learn how we can add a single user in a Salesforce Lightning. Now, firstly, open a Salesforce login page and log in to your account with your credentials. After successfully logging up to your Salesforce account, your first step is to check whether you are on a Salesforce Lightning experience or not. If you are not on your Salesforce Lightning experience, you all know that how to move to the Salesforce Lightning experience from the classic one. Once you reach your Salesforce Lightning experience, your next step is to check whether you are on a main home page or not, or main setup page or not. If you are not on a main setup page, your step is to redirect to the setup page by clicking on the gear icon and the setup option. Next, once you reached on the page that is visible on your screen right now, your next step is to search on a quick find box that is located on the left side, and here you have to search for the users. Once you type users here, it will show you a users section, and under this you have an option of users. Now click on it. It redirects you to the user setup page where you can create either single user at a time or a multiple user at a time. Here you can see that by default there are some of the users. Now, as we are going to learn the concept of creating a single user at a one time in Salesforce Lightning, for this reason you have to click on this new user button. Once you click the new user button, your the next step is to fill up the details of your user. Here, the section is divided in a journal information, mailing address, single sign-on information, locale setting, and approver setting. So here where the red line is in the front of the field box is required. You have to fill it up. So now let's proceed by filling up with the first name and the last name. So here I enter the first name as a Sam and last name as a Smith, and the alias becomes S. Smith. So it's from the first letter of a first name and the fourth letter of a last name. Now you have to enter up the email address of your user. Here I enter the email address, and automatically on the based upon the email address it fills up the username and the nickname. Now your step is to check that whether this username is unique or not. If you thought that this username is not to be a unique, you can replace it. Or if you want to change it, you can either change it. And this nickname displays the name for the user in the online communities. The next step is to choose up the role. It's depend upon the user license. Suppose from user license I choose up the Salesforce license, as I decided to give all the Salesforce authorities to this also. Now I selected up the profile of a contract manager, and here you can see that this profile contains a setting and permission which control what user can do. The available profile depend upon which user license is selected. If you don't want to select any role, you can leave as it is. Now, here are some other options like marketing user, offline user, knowledge user, flow user, service cloud user. If you want to give any of the access to them, you can check the checkbox. I leave this setting as it is for now. Now, scroll down, and if you want to fill up the mailing address of this person, you can add it too. Here I enter up some fictional address. Now it's time to set up the locale setting based upon the user. By default, there is some setting. If you want, you can change it. Here we have a different locale setting according to the countries. So after doing all such settings, you have to click on the save button and finally save your user. Once you save it, you can see all the detail of your user comes on a page. And once you have saved all such things, the system sends an email notification to the user with a login credential. So let's see how it's look. Here you can see that here is my email account, and here you can see that this is the email I logged in from my user, and it gets a mail from the sportsalesforce.com. When I open this mail, it looks something like that. Welcome to the Salesforce. Verify your account. Thanks for signing up with the Salesforce. It sends its username, its login URL, and it asks him to verify his account. Once the user click on this verify account, it's get a option of changing the password. And once the user successfully change up the password, he or she can easily log in to her or his Salesforce account. So with this, we have learned to add up a single user in Salesforce Lightning. Now we will proceed and learn how we can add a single user in Salesforce Classic. Now for Salesforce Classic, your first step is to log in into your Salesforce Classic account with the necessary credentials. After you log in, you will get the page that is visible on your screen. If you are not redirected to the Classic experience, you have to shift it from the Lightning one to Classic. And you all know the step for this, how we can navigate from the Salesforce Lightning to the Salesforce Classic. After successfully reaching on the Salesforce Classic page, your first step is to click on the top right corner where you see appear setup option. Once you click up on your setup option, your next step is to either scroll down from the left side, and under this administrator we have a manage user drop down, and under this we have a users option. You can click it here, or you can directly search for the users in the quick find box that is located on the top left corner. Once you find the option, you have to click on it. You will see the users that is already in your system. Now we are going to learn how we can create a single user at a time in Salesforce Classic. For this, you have to click on this new user button. Once you click up, it redirects you to the new page where you have to enter up the journal information, mailing address, single sign-on information, locale setting, and approver setting of your user. And all these red marked fields are mandatory. Now let's fill up the details for your user. Here I enter up the name for my user is Jessica Turner. His alias name is automatically fetched up upon the first name, first letter, and the last four letters are come from the first four letter of the last name. Now it's time to enter up the email address for the user. Here I enter up the email address, and by default the username and the nickname filled up. Now you have to check that this username is unique or not. If you want to change this username, you can also change it. Now you can also fill up the title, company, department, and division of your user if you want to add. If you don't want to add, you can move to the next section of the user field. Now you have to choose up the role for your user and it's depend upon the user license. It is not mandatory to choose at that moment, but I decided to choose that one. This person is a customer support from the North America. So I've selected the role for it as a custom support from the North America. Now it's time to select the user license. Here we have a different license and from here I decided to give up the license of the Salesforce platform to this user. And here it shows me the profile option and from the drop down I can see that there is only one profile option is available, that is automatically selected. This profile contains the settings and permission which control what user can do, and this profile depends upon which user license is selected. After that, if you want to add up some other options, you can add it like marketing user, offline user, knowledge user, flow user, or something else also. But I don't want to do these settings, so I read this as it is. Also, you can add the call center, phone number, extension, fax, a mobile number, and employee number of your employee user. If you don't want to add, you can move to the address. Here you can add up the address of your user. Now let's add it. Once you fill up the email address, your next step is to choose up the locale settings. These are the required fields. It's very necessary to choose up. If you want to change, you can change it according to your requirement. And after finally setting up all such settings for your user, you have to click on the Save button to successfully create or add a user in your Salesforce. Now you are redirected to the page where you will see all the user detail on your screen. And once your user is successfully created, the Salesforce system notifies the user through the email with the login information after you save it. Now let's see how it's look at the user end. Here I open up the user account and here you can see that the user get an email from the Salesforce, and once I click on this email, it's open up that where a user get an email from the Salesforce to verify his or her account with its username and the URL. So once the user complete this step, the user can able to log into their Salesforce account successfully. So with this we have learned to add up a single user in Salesforce Classic 2, and here our session ends. So in the next session we are going to learn how to add a multiple users at a time in a Salesforce.